Hello, and welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness, Changing the Dreaming 20th Anniversary Edition, Kingdom of Apples, venue. Today is another scene for us. Good Lord, I'm already baffled by everything that's going on. In the scene, Amber heading to the county freehold, making declarations of inappropriate liaisons with the count.
Oh yeah, no. If she's asked, she'll just be like, "Yeah, this is a booty call," like as if that's like a normal thing, because it probably is.
Probably yes.
I imagine Barry is like Kip from Futurama, just like, oh.
Barry's a work. I don't know a work of what. He's something. Barry has touched Amber's feet. No. So
yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, he has.
Yeah, the guards, vaguely familiar with Amber, will be like, you know where his office is.
I don't know what you're insinuating.
And when you reach the office, the door is closed, and you hear him kind of bellowing at somebody as you get closer. And you can't quite make out the first sentence as you approach, but it is definitely a familiar voice.
We'll stand outside the door, looking like I'm patiently waiting, but the fox ears are perked.
Right.
I'll pretend to be distracted, or everyone will pretend to be distracted with her nails, pull out a nail file, but also still be listening.
All right. So here's the conversation you're hearing. And make an enemy of House Daron?
I mean, the options are boundless.
What was the motivation behind this move? And please leave the lies to the professionals.
Oh, I don't claim to be a professional, Your Excellency. After all, I'm newly knighted. You see, Your Excellency, you and I are both aware that this county is in dire straits. We have commoners rioting and protesting every action in the streets. In some case, rightly so, for the lack of care and concern we have shown them. We have dark trods opening up in the Bronx. We have constantly shifting leadership and positions of power in Manhattan that leaves something to consistency to be desired. And we have lost the former Baron of Queens to an unfortunate accident. We're scattered, shattered, unorganized, and in need of support. My hope for this whole matter was to pave the roads to that support, and a reminder that we're a unified force. If one of us goes, the rest follow. Isidore and Brooklyn are an example, and I do not wish to see any more baronies fall to needless violence or war. So, without a count, and with Queens in dire straits, and to bring my own barony from the edge of riots, I made this move to make the county stronger, to remind us that we support each other, and so that now we have all our eggs in the same basket, we have that much more to gain and that much more to lose. I've been here for over a year now, in the middle of all this, and I think we can both agree that this place is a mess. But I'm trying to clean it up. And if you're concerned why I did not inform you of the plan, well, 2 reasons. The first is that the plan was already in motion before you had been announced as Count. And second, we were already so far along at that point, I figured it was best at that juncture to ask forgiveness than permission. And if you're wanting a more selfish reason, Your Excellency, consider job security. I take my oaths very seriously, and my duty is to keep Manhattan in check and thriving. As the only knight of Manhattan, I had to do what I could to make sure it was stable, and with such times as they are, find myself overworked to do so. But I did the best action I felt I could do to fulfill my oaths to my baron and the people of Manhattan. This, in fact, the fact that it benefits others as well is just a added bonus.
This isn't exactly baronal knight level work. Did someone put you up to this, or was your previous learning experience something I should look into?
Oh, no, it's not. But I find myself in the position of needing to stretch my limitations in these trying times, and with the situation as it is, I'm stepping up. For my previous experience, you could look and do the research yourself, or I could give you my resume, and you can decide if it's something worth keeping around. I will say this, though. This is what I'm willing to do for the benefit of a barony. Imagine, Your Excellency, what I could do for the county. Now, I should also further mention that I acted with the permission of my lord. You would be concerned of me going out and making sweeping acts of changes without any act of protocol.
Your assessment of this county's readiness and respect for protocol does nothing but fill me with the warm, fuzzy feelings of hope. Do you know why I called off the tournament? The city wants to be taken seriously, respected and feared. But this trend of thumbing their noses at the chain of command is going to do nothing but fill the streets with Queen Mam's sworn knights. I'd appreciate it in the future if these grand gestures be brought to me before they're executed. That way, when you ultimately decide to ignore me and do what you want, I can at least pretend to the higher-ups the fuck-up was my own damn fault. Understand this. It's better to be wrong than ignorant, especially when bringing attention to the largest city in Concordia. What this place needs is someone to act in its best interests, even when the people disagree with those actions. Perhaps you understand that better than most, but I'd like the opportunity to at least earn the mistrust you've placed in me.
It warms my heart, Your Excellency, that you are the one to be placed in this position. It's good to know that our head of state, so to speak, is ready to get in on the action and understands the full weight of actions viewed beyond this realm, something that has been sorely lurking. And please don't take this as sarcasm or misconstrue this, Your Excellency, because it's honestly about time there was. So, and there's like the sound of like a chair shifting for a moment. And so, with this new understanding with us of where we stand in this lay of the land, and with the expectation of further cooperation between us, shall we shake on building a better future for this county?
One of the clever ones. Should I call in my manservant to sanctify this agreement to cooperate? You know, a small thing to ensure we're all on the same page.
Oh, if you feel that is required, Your Excellency. Or we could take it on faith, after all. That's what all the cool new kiths are doing these days, along with their empty words. No respect for what their word actually means.
Yeah, you have my number. I do so desperately want to be one of the cool kids and repeatedly act as though the Ashit's a mere suggestion. I know it was nothing more than some magical gang initiation. I think something should be sanctified, but not on a whim. Drop your expectations and I'll drop mine. We can discuss this as men of action instead of surreptitious children sneaking behind the backs of Mama Mab.
See, now this is what I have missed. Someone who knows how things are supposed to work. This gives me a great deal of hope for our future relationship, Your Excellency.
Just remember, I'm not much of a cuddler if you try to fuck me.
Oh, trust me. People have seen what happens when they try to do the same with me. It's quite the shattering experience. Luckily, I think we understand each other well enough, Your Excellency. Now, did you want my resume to have a cover letter, or do you prefer the thrill of the hunt when it comes to my experience?
Well, as much as I would enjoy puzzling your past over my morning grapefruit and toast, I think you know the appropriate answer if you do intend for us to go forward on a good foot.
I'm sure that this is something we can make quite mutual. That can be part of our discussion as adults.
At that point, one of the guards comes by and sees Amber waiting at the door. Excuse me, what are you doing standing around out here?
Oh, I'm waiting for, I had an appointment with the Count, and it appears as though he overlapped the schedules. I'm just waiting for him to be done with his previous appointment.
Did you try knocking? And he Like, looks at her, keeps eye contact, and like.
Of course I tried knocking. I'm not an idiot.
At the knock on the door, just it's open. It's unlocked.
They're both still like gripping their hands and just smiling at each other the whole time.
It's the world's longest firm handshake.
Amber will look to the guard and be like, "Thank you so much. What would I do without the help of you, my dear?" Waiting for a name.
Oh.
It doesn't really matter what his name is as long as he says it.
Yeah, Bigsby.
Well, thank you again. I will trust that I can conduct this business without the rest of your assistance. Your job is done.
He gives her just the weirdest of looks for that dismissal. Just like carries on. Yeah, but the door is open.
Amber will open the door and walk in and see this display and get a look of like surprise, I guess, or like confusion, and she'll just be like, I guess, Charles, I didn't know you felt that way about LWoD, but I mean, you're welcome to stay. As long as I feel like maybe now I'm the one intruding. Or are you sure you don't want me to leave and lock this door behind me?
Oh, I don't know. That's up to His Excellency of whether I'm dismissed or not.
He just like gives Charles a look and finally lets go of the handshake.
Yeah.
It was quite the invigorating start to my day.
Well, I'm sure it's the thing that needs you to jumpstart you for the rest of the week.
I do hope you're not tired out.
He looks at Charles and then at himself, and he's like, "Me?"
I haven't heard tales of Charles's stamina, but from what I've read of lions.
He gives a like roaring chuckle, of which I am incapable of reproducing.
That's fine.
I
no.
mean,
You know, somewhere in between those two laughs. Well, as much as I'm sure you would love to test my stamina, I think we haven't quite figured out or haven't quite reached the threshold yet. Gives her a wink.
Excellent. Do love testing limits.
Have you met Sir Carraris before?
I have not. This is the first time we're meeting. To put out her hand.
The Lady Amber. The fact that the memory of me is so fleeting in your mind wounds me greatly. He says as he holds out his hand and takes it.
Oh wait, haven't I seen you before?
Maybe only in your dreams.
And she'll smile, just like good-naturedly, and look back to Leon and be like, I wanted to talk to you, and how strange that I also wanted to talk to Charles. That doesn't need to happen at the same time if, I'm three's a crowd, you know?
Sir Carraris, if you're hungry, it's very early. I think the kitchen staff is still preparing breakfast.
I would be most honored to indulge in the breakfast of the county.
Don't go too far.
Oh, I have no intention to go too far. I'll leave you both to your test of one's limits. And with that, he makes his way out.
To the kitchen where it's Barry working.
Just Barry. And I watch Barry, causing him to become inefficient. I'm just kidding.
Oh no, poor Boggins.
I wouldn't do that to Barry. Or would I?
No one cares. It's Barry. Oh, or at least
Oh,
that's what we want to tell him.
Aw, I care about Barry.
I know. That's your thing. It's not Leon's. Leon has a very complicated relationship with Barry. But that's neither here nor there. Councilwoman, to what do I owe the honor of your gracious presence? Just the booty call?
Oh, you know me. I'm a very, very simple woman. And she'll go over and, is he, like, still standing?
He's like, this is like the first thing he's done today, that meeting with Charles. He's like still in pajama pants.
It's amazing. Okay, so since this seems casual, Amber will sit on the desk.
Okay.
Because screw chairs.
Yeah.
I came here to find answers. I usually do. I found them, I think, a bit easier than I usually do, which is a little bit, makes me a little bit, I don't know, concerned. It's almost too easy. I told you before that even though, you know, lions are the king of the animal kingdom, I am no prey myself. I am, I don't know, I'm not concerned. I'm curious, let's say. I haven't had the chance to explore the other cauldron houses as of yet, but it looks like the question that I posed to you has been answered, of whether I am being taken advantage of.
He puts on this like face of offense. It isn't like snide, but it is playful, sort of like, I am wounded that you would suggest such a thing.
Not suggesting, it doesn't, I don't think you are the one taking advantage of me. I think you're smarter than that. I was talking about my offer of getting my own freehold. It seems as though they found someone quicker to act, but the same sentiment was there with me.
There's so many freeholds, he says, and just kind of like rubs his temples. Very hard to get around conversations without questions this early in the morning. Did they move without you for a freehold? Did Manhattan give somebody else a freehold in Manhattan?
I certainly hope so, because I plan to decline their offer after what just happened with their newest. I don't know if it was supposed to be a commoner freehold or not, but the newest freehold owned by a commoner and now in alliance with noble freeholds.
The one in Queens?
Oh, I don't pay attention to location.
Okay. I think I shouldn't have sent away the she. 1 second.
I've thrown him off his game. This is amazing.
And like throughout the...
And you think it's just a creepy Slua is the only one who can do so. No, sir.
Throughout the freehold, you will hear, maybe Amber will want to plug her ears for this, as he just yells, "Barry!" At which point Barry will stop cooking breakfast and run his ass to Leon's office. "Can you find me the she that was here, the grassy hair and the eyes and the teeth like a goddamn nightmare." Barry just like bows and yes, of course, yes, okay, and runs off and to where Charles is waiting for his breakfast.
But no breakfast would be had for Charles.
As Barry arrives, kind of sweaty and breathless. Excuse me, sir. Yes, the Count would like a further word with you.
Oh, would he now? Very well. Lead the way.
Yes, sir. And he leads back to the office and knocks. Sir, Ferrara, sir.
Oh, wait, I'm not decent.
Oh. He will like raise a hand to like cover Charles's eyes. Like he's not touching him, but he's like...
How tall is Barry? Can he reach his eyes?
He's putting his hand like straight up.
Okay.
All right, come in.
And he'll open the door further for Charles.
Charles comes in, he bows again. Your Excellency.
Seems like your dismissal is premature because I have no idea what arrangements you made to make this happen.
Well, it's a good thing we're getting the premature things out of the way now.
He looks kind of hurt.
Charles just smiles. It's a little way too wicked on that one, but anyway. How did I arrange these things? Why, it wasn't easy. That's for sure. And you mind if I take a seat? I'll have to think back the order of events.
As long as you aren't taking it home, I see no problem with you taking a seat.
You're ever most gracious, Your Excellency, he says, and he takes a sit down and he keeps his fingers together and he sort of rolls his head in the back of his head. I believe it began with me discussing the state and current affairs of Manhattan with the Baron and Baroness, as it were. It had been my suggestion that, based on the current events, that and of a particular viewpoint of what happened at the wedding, that Manhattan's popularity has gone, if I may speak freely, to the dumps, as it were. And as a knight sworn to such a place, it deeply concerned me that our county was our barony, I should say, was in such a state. So I offered some solutions, and this was the one they gave me permission for. The idea of unifying the baronies. It initially started as that. But of course, it came to the little bit of the issue that Queens didn't have a baron or baroness at the time. But we wanted to make sure there was still a unified force. So I myself made an offer to Desiree, who is now in the freeholder in that place, and she
You
accepted.
did that because I wasn't quick enough to accept the offer from the Baron and Baroness themselves?
He sort of blinks. You know, I don't think that you were discussed as an option. My apologies, but as a member of a council in Brooklyn, that seems rather poor.
Was this not before I became a councilwoman, if it was so soon after the wedding?
Oh, no, no, no. Remember, lots of things have been delayed after the wedding. Say this has been a project of the last 2-3 weeks.
So you're telling me you know nothing about the Baron and Baroness offering me a freehold in Manhattan?
Not a clue.
I'm gonna perception empathy that because Amber doesn't trust him.
I'm not going to roll.
That's like 7 successes, but you're telling the truth, so.
Yeah, no, it's as a matter of fact, it's piecing it together. He's actually just for you on this one. He's emoting a lot more than usual. In fact, it's kind of disturbing the fact that when you mentioned the freehold thing, he actually seemed rather off guard, confused, and more than a little upset.
Okay. Why can't I roll like this when I'm rolling against somebody? God damn it. Okay, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. The dice roller hates Puka.
It does. She'll just kind of narrow her eyes at him and slide off her place on the table and take a seat like a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this either means that the Baron and Baroness are far less intelligent than I originally anticipated, or this is an oversight on their part.
Why not both?
I don't know. I know how to deal with stupid people, and I know how to deal with smart people who make mistakes. I don't know how to deal with stupid people.
Who make mistakes.
Yes.
Well,
there's really nowhere to improve there. There's nothing to start with.
Well, unfortunately, at this point, as I said, my apologies if any such offers were made and the insult was made. It was not my intention for any such thing to ruin your reputation.
On the contrary, I was concerned that I was being used, but if that had no connection to what's happening now, I don't know. I guess then that just brings me to my next concern, which was the fact that Brooklyn was left out of this arrangement. Or not Brooklyn, the Brooklyn governing body was left out of this arrangement.
I think the the spokesperson of Brooklyn has made it quite clear that they don't want any of our help.
The spokesman? Was this a officially appointed spokesman, or is this just the loudest person in Brooklyn?
Does that really matter at this point?
As someone who I believe is concerned with things being official and traveling down the proper channels, I think it doesn't.
Yes, indeed. That is something that is a bit concerning, wouldn't it?
William certainly has offered help, and he has certainly been vocal in his opinion, but he is not the official spokesperson for Brooklyn. That is a mouthful.
Well, be that as it may. It seems that a great many people seem to be of the opinion that they don't want our help, and, I wasn't going to push the issue.
You didn't consider how it might look, making an alliance between noble freeholds and leaving the commoner freeholds out of it?
The commoner freeholds are welcome to make their own alliances with one another. There's nothing wrong with that. And besides, just because this alliance has happened doesn't mean there isn't the opportunity to open the doors further.
Wasn't that the cat and queen's a commoner?
She is indeed.
I was going to be a commoner holding a freehold, and it was my my suspicion that I was to be used in a similar fashion. To say this is a commoner's freehold, and yet have it be allied with solely noble freeholds.
That sounds like a noble freehold maintained by a commoner.
It does, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Leon's brow furrows at this conversation of he was there. They've already had this conversation about freeholds just being handed out like party favors, and he was kind of irked at that as well, and just kind of hearing like this sort of like failure on the offer of the like it's a big thing to offer, and that they just seem to let it fall to the wayside. So, Cararis, your Baron, was it the Baron or the Baroness or both? Says looking at Amber.
I recall both being present, but I recall one of them doing the most talking.
So, we have a joint offer for a commoner freehold within Manhattan, I'm assuming. He looks like he's about to start addressing another question, but he stops. And did they in their you did say it was that this grand gesture was approved by your Baron?
And Charles nods.
And they did not inform you that they were planning this further rather grand gesture with this fine specimen of councilwoman?
Darrell shakes his head. To be honest, I would have advised against it, as it would be rather unusual and unorthodox to ask a councilwoman of Brooklyn to maintain a freehold in Manhattan. It'd be a conflict of interest for the governing parties.
That's the thing. They asked me before the election, and now that it's after the election, I was planning on making it sort of an embassy, more like, as you know, I didn't want this conflict of interest in place. And in my investigation of whether that was possible, I found out about the possible alliances, and now all this has happened, and now things have gotten a lot more complicated than I originally anticipated. And now I have to figure out what the Baron was thinking. It doesn't make sense.
I can assure you, if they talked to you, they did not inform me. I made sure it was very clear of who I had spoken with and who was going to be involved with the events of last night. Had they wanted to make sure that there were other opportunities or investors in place, they would have asked me to. I'm sure they would have informed me or asked me to delay.
I don't appreciate being a pawn, and apparently this is something that I will have to take up with the Baron and Baroness themselves. What I will be asking you, I suppose, is if you anticipated that this would that the commoner freeholds would then create another alliance in response to this, and or if you assumed that the commoner freeholds would then start petitioning to be a part of this alliance.
My hope is that the that the commoner freeholds would make their own alliances. But if they wish to partake in this greater one, they can definitely do so. They're free to make their choices.
How
I
does
believe
it
that's what
look?
they voted.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that's what they voted for.
How does it look if there is such a separation, if there are these two factions? That already we are split into nobles and commoners, and this is just an even deeper split. And she's somewhat addressing Leon with this, but after hearing the conversation, he obviously wasn't a part of this, but she's side-eyeing him.
Yeah.
Leon gives Charles a look and then gestures to Amber.
To be honest, my concern was the strength of the barony of Manhattan. Things began to expand in a direction I wasn't necessarily anticipating, but once I started asking House Daron for a certain degree of assistance, they decided they wanted in. It has grown into its own entity. It's one of those things you can't. If there are 3 people in the world, no 2 people can keep a secret, or that's the wrong saying. I think it's 2 people can keep a secret if both of them are dead. I think that's the one.
I have heard that, yes.
How does it look, though? I don't imagine, based on your reaction, that it looks well. It is looked upon very kindly, but then again, of course, you've also been very slighted in this matter.
I guess my next course of action is to let you know. I don't speak on behalf of the council nor on behalf of Brooklyn about this, but it is my personal goal not to make an enemy or not to further separate commoners from nobles or go down this path that might eventually make us on separate sides, if not enemies, still working against each other. I want to explore avenues that might unite us and prevent this from escalating into something that, I don't know, certain other loud individuals might misconstrue this as.
And what do you propose at this point, since we are at this juncture?
I propose acting alone and rashly. I want to bring something to the council. I know Sam told me that they were explicitly told to stay out of this. So hopefully if this discussion would perhaps allow an avenue to bring Sam into the conversation, and perhaps I don't know if the governor of Staten Island has been similarly told to stay out of the situation, but another avenue for them to also join in on the conversation. And perhaps rather than, since this alliance has already been formed, I, of course, suppose that disbanding it would be the first thing that you would consider most useful in the situation. Some sort of similar alliance, if not the same alliance, a similar alliance with the commoner freeholds.
Opening up a conversation. I like that. I would like this conversation to be opened up. I'm very sorry that they were shut out of it. But I would like to but if you are willing to help reopen the conversation, and we can see how we can proceed forward with it, I'd be very eager for that.
I don't know how much they're going to be receptive, but like I said, I don't want this to devolve into something ugly.
No, I don't think any of us do.
Oh boy.
Leon's just like looking back and forth between the two of you guys having this discussion that like a cat watching a string.
Yep. Who's he gonna pounce? Clearly Charles. Call for Charles. Call for Charles.
Not gonna incite that curse. No.
I just wanted to train falcons and run a barony. You know, the normal things. Normal lady things.
Perhaps since one of my barons has slighted you, and the baron is ultimately my responsibility. He says, kind of like giving Charles this look of like, this is the burden of fucking being in charge. Ultimately, I feel that this slight is going to fall upon my shoulders. So I would like to seek some way to rectify this, make, if not a similarly large gesture, then certainly something comparable. You said you wanted an embassy, someplace where conversations can be had.
And something like that.
And I find myself in the uncomfortable predicament of being in charge of a county in which the general populace views the nobility as something to keep incredibly ignorant. He says, giving a pointed look at Charles.
Charles just smiles.
I feel the best way to fix this problem might be to reach out. Perhaps designate liaisons. Nothing that would conflict with your responsibilities, of course. This isn't something that will grant you any authority necessarily with the county, but rather a fast track to conversation. The guarantee that you will be heard. And perhaps you as the slighted individual could act as that liaison between the commoner voice and the county authority.
Some sort of, I don't know if this would be the correct term, and Lily doesn't know if she's pronouncing this right, courtier?
Something along those lines, yes. Though more than just a mere messenger, you will... With quote, Spider-Man, with power comes responsibility. You would have this responsibility and the power along with it. You would have to make sure that you do listen to the commoners and please bring it forward. After all, I cannot fix a problem I'm unaware of. In return, we'll make sure that appropriate priority is given to the needs of the commoners, especially the ones who are currently not afforded the protection of the joint freehold project.
An honor to be offered such a position, and such a unique position. I don't think I've heard of any other county employing something like this.
I find that this county does not work like most other counties.
I hadn't noticed. But you, of course, with your perceptive eyes. But I will... Allow me, as with most things that I'm offered, I would like to consider this offer for a little bit. Hopefully, nothing else comes up to make this a conflict of interest. But yes, I will bring this this idea to the council, and also this try to devise some sort of plan to make sure that the commoner freeholds are brought into something within the county. And I will have a conversation with the Baron and Baroness of Manhattan.
Quite voluminous one, I'm sure.
Me? Oh no, I'm quiet as a mouse.
I will be more than happy to present you before them if you wish, but if you wish to make that a more personal matter, I understand completely.
I don't know how it would look, you presenting me to them. Are they fond of you? I haven't actually asked them. I haven't actually heard anything about you from them, so I don't know what your relationship is like.
Oh, probably very poor if they've heard, if they don't say a word about me.
But thank you for the offer. It's much appreciated. Your hospitality, might I say, is much appreciated.
And once again, I wish to extend my deepest apologies about any misunderstanding that this may have caused, and the slight gun on you. It would have, I would have did my best to have avoided such a misunderstanding.
Might I ask then in the future if such things are planned, that the governing parties that such a plan would affect are informed?
I believe I already am working on a agreement of transparency with His Excellency as we speak, so that wouldn't be something too out of the way.
Then you are at least a step ahead of me then. I will have to catch up.
I have no doubt you'll be running ahead of us in no time.
You got the shoes for it.
She smiles, just a shit-eating grin.
He's like actively rubbing his temples at this conversation. So, can we agree to play nice for at least the time being? There are so many problems that already exist within this county. It would certainly make my little day if we could avoid creating new ones. For instance, we still have a ranter problem. Queen still has the dark trods. Somebody's spray painting fucking glitter all over the city. And
there's a very serious and very annoyed look on Charles's face as he mentions the glitter spray paint and a little bit of the gritting of his teeth.
1 second, let me look up what his perception empathy is so I can roll that and see if LWoD will call him on it. Yeah.
While you're looking that up, Amber's just going to, as a disclaimer, say I can't make any promises on behalf of the council nor of the people of Brooklyn, but I will do my best to try and impart to them this idea of not doing anything too crazy immediately.
I truly appreciate that, and will. I'm trying to find his fucking empathy.
He has none. Good day.
No, Puka with no empathy. What?
It's not great.
All he needs is leadership. What do you want? I'm just kidding.
I mean, I guess you could roll subterfuge instead when you're rolling for the gift.
Confess, Charles. All right, it was me. I did it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's a good roll.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it doesn't help the fact that he's like as transparent as a fucking book right now, anyway. So.
So, you have a problem with spray paint, graffiti?
So, Specifically those that would use the name of someone I know is long deceased.
Fascinating. Please, in the interest of our ongoing transparency, tell me more.
And then Charles is sort of like cursing himself a bit because that he didn't intend to slip, but unfortunately, like, just it overcame him. He wasn't in control of his emotions. He wasn't in control of that moment, and that was very dangerous.
He hasn't got through Culinar yet.
Sort of adjusts himself for a moment. The signer of the glitter spray paint, it would be one by the name of Alas, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's all over the place. There's Coney Island. There's death threats about all of us falling down in literally every borough. One lovely one of no kings above us, no commoner below us, and of course the current confounding message of mice turning into lions.
I can assure you, I saw the individual die with my own eyes. It wouldn't be them. Someone else is using their name and their message.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once again, as you want to know the problems that this county had been facing, there had been talks of anarchy. You know, probably wasn't just going to be Brooklyn. Oh no, although Brooklyn was definitely a target in the end. No, I think a mass majority needed to be was being felt that needed to be swept off the board. You remember my story about Richard Parker and the meerkats, right? How they all just stood there and got eaten once by one by one?
Yes.
Allowing the not even a chance to defend themselves, and yet they believed they could rule over others. Really has set a precedence of mistrust between us. So an individual by the name of Alas stepped up and decided to make a statement. Apparently the statements got to a point where it was almost as though it was some messiah figure, almost. Either a messiah or someone giving proclamations of doom. They died without anyone really knowing who they were. But now there's others trying to use that name to incite it. And while words resound and stuff, it distresses me a bit. For this was someone I considered close, and I do not like, despite their message of, casting down their kings and stuff, I do not appreciate anyone deframing the dead or using the dead's words for their own gains.
Fascinating. I think I might have to have a talk with Mjijin, see if we can take a look into this zombie graffiti artist.
Charles, there are only a couple people who know who this person is. I can't imagine any of them doing this maliciously.
So you don't find them threatening me malicious? Leon says, he just kind of,
Oh no, I thought that was a is that not the way we express affection?
Only if that's within the consent of both parties, and I believe there's safe words involved. Is that correct?
That is a fair point. What I meant, I guess, is I don't think they're using the name for any malicious reason. And they're
again,
not
Leon
trying
is
to what Charles is concerned about, I think, is the fact that they're using this person's name sort of to tarnish the memory. I don't think that's what the intention is. I could be wrong. I have been wrong about things before, as exemplified by a couple minutes ago.
he has this like perplexed look as he just regathers himself. Aside from whatever personal connection he may have to the person carrying on the words of the dead, that there is still somebody spray painting vaguely threatening messages throughout the streets leading up to my freehold.
Oh yes, there's absolutely that.
Which I think to be considerably problematic, whether or not the intentions towards the dead were pure-hearted or not. Call me an old softy.
I thought you said you didn't like cuddling.
Ah, there's a hint.
He gives kind of an eyebrow. How long were you at that door?
What door?
Ah. What door indeed?
He just kind of gives her a raised eyebrow. And I think I have an appointment with the court seer. If the two of you will excuse me, he says, standing up, and he gestures towards the door for the two of you to leave his office.
Of course, Your Excellency. Thank you for your time.
Amber will curtsy.
Please. Have a fantastic day.
Look at it this way, there's nowhere for your day to go but up.
Oh, it's about to skyrocket.
Like a tiger defying the laws of gravity. Burning through the sky, yeah. 1,000 degrees, that's what they call them.
I assume.
Yeah, he gives Charles a weird look, and then
Yeah, and even Charles, for some reason, just started doing that. He doesn't know what. And so after a few moments, he leaves. He stops, and he's just like frowns at himself because why did he start singing? Why? Why did he start doing that? He starts, and he gets to his cell, and he walks down with Amber. Well. You're, I'm sure there's still certain words you might wish to say to me.
I mean, I can't. If you're thinking of any four-letter words, I don't think those are necessary anymore.
No, And he looks at her, and there's actually like a genuine look of remorse on him. No, I'm just I don't know why I think some part of me feels like it'd be better if you were shouting at me in your distress over what happened.
No, I don't think it's not quite the same sort of violence that you're averse to, but I don't think it solves anything. And I'm actually relieved that I don't have to be shouting at you because uh, you weren't. My suspicion that you were a part of this scheme, if it was a scheme, to take advantage of me, because I expected that perhaps it has something to do with. I think everyone in that room. Let's put it this way: I think everyone in that room has some sort of self-interest that they like to place ahead of some other things, and I can trust that. And I'm glad that that didn't involve that. I don't think, again, anyone in that room takes that to the extent that they would use somebody to further their own interests so selfishly.
You know, my hope had been that in the unification of these baronies, these freeholds, that we would be able to make a statement and open the doors to the common folk and realize that, yes, we are ready to do the duties that we had sworn to do, and we open our doors and offer our homes and hospitality freely to you. Please come here. This is shelter. This is food. This is education.
Oh, you
But
were about to offer education.
That was my hope.
Hold on then. Okay, because this is something that I can work with. This is not something that I don't think a lot of people agree with me on, but well, first of all, I think that most people agree that we should be offering education to the common citizens. People do not agree with me that we should be offering education from both commoner teachers and noble teachers.
So you think this is actually something that might work in our favor, despite the bungled approach?
I do hope so. And this is, again, me being a little bit self-interested, but it's because I believe that if you're going to learn about an issue or learn about anything, really, there's more than one side, and that you can't really get the true story unless you have, I don't know if it's both sides, but at the very least, both sides. There's usually more than that, even.
Well, Amber, there's always a little bit of self-interest in anything that is ever done. It's just a matter of how much of that self-interest is being put forward into whatever you're moving forward with.
Is that your professional view as a psychiatrist?
That's just something I know from experience.
I can tell you William is not going to like this.
Oh no, I expect him screaming from the watchtowers by either the mid-afternoon or by the morrow.
I hope I can stop him from screaming. I don't think I can stop him from talking, but I can maybe at least try to keep him from screaming.
Well, you might want to make sure you have some backup on that. He's very much it's very interesting watching, even within his own motley, the interactions there.
I strangely agree with you on that. But yes,
So,
keep that idea of if that's something that you would be willing to offer, if you have anyone in mind for this sort of education, something to keep in mind.
I think there'll be plenty of opportunities for education from any. But we'll make sure that that point is driven forward if we are to make a bridge.
What do you think about Leon's offer to me? You're a bit more politically minded than I am.
Oh, it's something William won't like. But it is something that, if it's to garner a more transparent and openness with with the leadership of this place, and to make sure that the voices are heard, it is definitely something to very highly consider. However, you should also remember that regardless of what is concerned, you are a council member of Brooklyn. If you become regardless of whether it's an official title or anything along those lines, people will view you as something more. People will see you as a member of the court. So that's something to keep in mind. The decision is yours ultimately, Amber. I can't say whether it's a good decision or a bad decision. They both have their perks and both have their disadvantages.
A member of the court without a title. That's interesting.
Mm.
Or a house. Have you ever heard of something like that?
Not once, but I am glad to say that at the very least, we live in a place where the rules change.
I will not take up any more of your time. Thank you for having that conversation.
You're welcome, Amber. And once again, I'm very sorry. And he sort of stops for a moment as he realizes what he's just said, and he blinks, and then he just sort of like stiffens up and starts to walk out.
As he leaves, she'll just say, "It's thank you."
As you guys are leaving the freehold, you'll see Leon like leading Mjijin to a car waiting in front, like where the freehold ends and where the Grey World Street begins.
That's the seer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Interesting. I'm gonna watch where that car goes.
It doesn't head too far. For the first stop, it'll lead to one of the newly minted graffiti paintings.
I understand. Okay, cool.
So, is there anything else you guys want to do? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Can't think of anything. Nope.
This is where we will end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. See you next time.